Broadcasting on Channel 3 from the top of Vermont, begins its first day of programming in the service of the people of Vermont, our neighbors in New York State and New Hampshire, and our friends in Canada.
Another unbelievable aspect of post-war technology, this one peaceful, was the 1954 arrival of television in Vermont.
As the sun goes down in the west, it's time to join Dusty Boyd at the chuck wagon. He's just finished his evening meal, so let's see what Dusty's up to.
Doggone that cook. Got me stuck for doing the dishes again.
Television was very eagerly awaited. At the time that we put up the station, there were 48 states in the Union. 47 of them had television. Vermont did not. There was a period between the time that you were given permission to test your broadcast and the time that you were given a program license. So during that period, all you did was run the test pattern. So when this test pattern came on, it was almost like the seventh wonder of the world. And I must have had at least 200 ecstatic letters describing that test pattern. People watched it. It was a very popular program.
Everybody was just going wild, trying to put up antennas fast enough. Must have been a great time to be in the business of selling the thing.
So we went up to a small town in Vermont to make a thoroughly unofficial and unscientific survey of what happens when television arrives.
Even Edward R. Murrow celebrated the birth of Vermont television by interviewing America's newest viewers.
I like Ed Sullivan's show as well as any of them, and I also like comedy shows like Our Miss Brooks.
People wouldn't go out on Saturday night because Jackie Gleason was on.
I like to see the time. I like to hear the weather reports.
The first time I saw TV was for Queen Elizabeth's coronation.
A short time ago, I made the remark that I wouldn't have a television set in my house.
We didn't have one, but somebody down the street had one. And you had to get one if you wanted your kids to ever stay home, because they would always flock to where the television was.
I changed my mind and I bought a set. I've had it a few months now, and after watching it for some time, I wouldn't trade it for the best cow I've got in my barn.
It was a kind of a magical thing.
TV is here to stay, same as the automobile, the radio. There's no use arguing about it.
CAX at that time owned a radio station, and the radio station and the television station were two separate operations, and I was hired to be a staff announcer with the radio station and at the same time to do some freelance television.
Good afternoon and welcome to the new premiere show of the season of How About That?
We were inventing it as we went along. We were all basically radio people and we were just trying to figure out what to do next.
35 men, most of whom work as car repairmen, have been offered jobs on the Grand Trunk line if they wish to relocate in Canada. I lost my place.
I applied for the job, and they said, "What background do you have in radio?" I said, "None, but I'm willing and I know sports." And they gave me a break. Then we went television, so that opened up another door for me. I would have a camera, personally, and go to a high school game, for instance. I'd do the first half and then rush back to the studio, get it into the processor, put it on a projector, decide which scenes I wanted, and then splice them together, then write a script, and then rush in breathlessly to do the show. It was a one-man operation at that point. It was exciting at that time. We didn't know any better.
Drink more Ethan Allen milk every day. You know, that's what I tell my customers because it's a...
Commercials were all live in those days. Merle Wood, he was one of the first people to understand the viability and the power of television advertising. He would come in about 20 seconds before it was time to go on the air, and he would set up his table and staple all the prices on it and put his apron and his hat on, and then he'd do his 60 seconds. And then he'd tear it all down, and in 5 minutes he was out the door and into his Cadillac convertible.
And whenever you're looking for bargains, folks, it's at the country store at Forest Hills, it's at the country store at Fairhaven, where good shopping is always found.
Take either a Betsy Ross angel cake or sponge layer cake, and covered with your own original frosting or topping.
By the mid-50s, Vermont was feeling most of the effects of the wave of growth and consumerism that had washed over the rest of post-war America. Yet it was still anybody's guess how long it would take to become fully absorbed into the national mainstream, or if it would happen at all. It was the 50s, and post-war optimism was at its height. Vermont developed a love affair with the automobile. Romantic nightlife became a reality, and a living legend took her last long bow. Stay tuned for the conclusion of Vermont Memories into the 50s.